Now, when I was a little kid, I loved Robin Williams. Absolutely loved him, to the point that I remember my dad met him somewhere and got his autograph for me. I thought it was the coolest thing, with all my sports autographs and everything. I thought it was so amazing that my dad had met. And I started thinking yesterday about all the movies and such. For me, growing up, there's a couple different categories of movies, right? But
Good Will Hunting has to be that's
my
your
favorite Robin Williams movie, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Yes. And that might be my favorite role that he's played. But, I loved his role as the genie in Aladdin. I thought he was incredible. He was great in, I love Jumanji and Jack and Mrs. Doubtfire. And
Mrs. Doubtfire is one of those movies that you kind of laugh at. You're like, well, and then you're like, it was really good.
Yeah.
It was really well done. It was very intelligent.
It's funny. Colin calls it one of his favorite comedies of all time. Colin Cowherd, yeah.
You know what the thing about Robin Williams is, and I said this to you before the show, and you thought, you're like, it's a great point. So I will,
Say it again.
I will make a great point. And that is, how many people can go from one end of the spectrum where they can do stand-up comedy live in front of millions of people? Now, I don't know if you remember, what was the name of that show, Jeff, that they used to do with Whoopi Goldberg and Billy Crystal? Was it Comic Relief? Is that Comic Relief? Now, it may predate you a little bit, but it was on HBO, and they would raise money. I don't even remember what it was for, but they would raise millions and millions of dollars. And he was one of the three hosts, and he would stand up and do brilliant stand-up comedy. And then on the other side of that, his role in Good Will Hunting. How many people in the world are so immensely talented that they can do A all the way through Z? And that was Robin Williams.
Yeah, no, not many people can. You even hear comedic actors talk about the difficulty of doing stand-up. I remember when, what movie was it, where Jonah Hill and them, they were stand-up comedians in the movie. What movie is that, guys, where they're with Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill?
That was with Adam Sandler when he was dying? He had cancer? I saw that.
Yes. I forget what movie that was. But I remember hearing Jonah Hill talk about it and say, they would go into these clubs and just practice, right, for the movie. It's you don't realize how difficult just doing stand-up is. And this is somebody who's very funny in movies. And now Jonah has also taken on, drama roles.
Sure.
Quite well also. But, so he might be the closest person I could think of. That Funny People was the name of that movie, who could do, kind of all of them, but I don't really think he does stand-up.
But he's not in the same stratosphere.
Of course. He's not in the same stratosphere, right. And he doesn't have 35 years of it.
Very talented.
Yes. But he doesn't have 35 years of it. The point being, it is unbelievably rare. Even a movie like Hook, when I think of Peter Pan, I first think of Robin Williams when I think of Peter Pan because of the movie Hook, growing up with that. It is incredible, the different roles he took. And I heard Colin talking about this a lot, and he's right. You also see how real the tortured genius is, because, it's not just something that's made up. Think about a lot of these people who are
so
brilliant are tortured.
Look at the musicians that, when you're creative at that level, and I don't want to cast a spell over everyone, but it's hard to be that level of creativity and normal.
Yeah.
And what we consider to be normal. But you go back, I don't know if you ever seen The World According to Garp. He was phenomenal. Moscow and the Hudson, he was good. A good bad movie with Kurt Russell, The Best of Times, which was based on a football premise, was good. Good Morning Vietnam. Think of Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh, that's one of his all time.
Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah. I love this. I love this from Aladdin, by the way.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
I never saw Aladdin.
You didn't see Aladdin?
No.
Don't you? How old are your children?
That's a good question. 7 and 3.
Well, okay.
Almost 4.
It's time.
We're ready for Aladdin?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
I'm not opposed.
Time.
But how about Dead Poet Society?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Awakenings. When you run through the list of movies that he's been in, and he started with, Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Mork and Mindy?
I have on TV Land. I think it used to be on sometimes. My mom loved Mork and Mindy. She was telling me last night.
Mrs. Doubtfire, like you mentioned. You remember Awakenings?
No. I never saw it.
Robert De Niro. Yeah. Oh, he was the doctor. That he was phenomenal. Birdcage, and I know John is going to get get nauseous.
Yeah, but
over
a lot
that.
of people love Birdcage.
Oh,
yeah?
it was brilliant in that, and deconstructing Harry and Goodwill Hunting, and just unbelievable.
This is a piece from that that amazing scene with him basically lecturing Matt Damon in Goodwill Hunting.
You don't know about real loss, because it only occurs when you love something more than you love yourself.
Love that scene. Love that scene. Where he talks about I was to ask you about love, you talk about a
and then he talks
sonnet
about the 75 World Series with the Carlton Fisk, and sorry I had to go about a girl.
So I've actually, I kid you not, the whole sorry I had to see about a girl thing, I've used that before. Because of that movie.
You're not telling me
line.
You missed big games, have
What?
you?
No. Didn't miss big games, but I skipped out on something else that because and I used that line. I was like, in Goodwill Hunting when he's like, sorry, I got to see about a girl. Well, sorry, I got to see about a girl. I have used that before.
That's great.
Because
how good was he in that?
He's amazing in that. It's not your fault. When he pushes them up against the wall, it's not your fault. I mean, he's fantastic, and it is true. If you just think about the wide scope of roles, it's incredible. You don't find people who's whether you like his stand up or not, you can appreciate the talent. And you just don't find people that often who's that much talent in that many different places. So sad to see someone who gave so much to all of us, just from an entertainment consumption standpoint, which it's real. Those contributions are real. Think about your life, and a lot of your happy moments do come from whatever you consume for entertainment.
And you know what? The reason you're so saddened by this is, first of all, it's a very sad story, but you feel connected to him.
Yeah.
Every time. I never met him. You never met him. The closest you've come to meeting Robin Williams is you have an autograph from him. But when you found out yesterday, you felt a profound sadness. And why is that? Because you feel one way or another connected to him. You've seen his movies. You appreciate them. You've seen him do stand-up. You appreciate that. You've watched him on all the late-night shows. He's funny. He was uplifting. He was quick. He had everything. And you know what? How many people that something tragic happens to, that when they pass or it's a big moment, everyone says, I love that guy.
Well, when they pass, I think it happens more so.
No, but I don't know that. Yes, that's. But how many people that when someone passes, everyone universally is paying
about their work? I don't think that. I think you're right. It's more rare. Yeah, about their work, about them as a guy. I don't think people despair. But
I don't think you're going to come out when someone passes and say, "Man, what a terrible guy he was." But
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But I think you're right in regard to how many people do you see look at somebody's career and be like, he had something for everybody.
How many people that could pass? And then the public finds out about it, and almost everyone. Do you know anyone who wasn't touched yesterday when they found out that Robin Williams had passed?
No. Every single person, even John, our producer, who didn't love his comedic roles, absolutely loved him in Goodwill Hunting. I think that's why I feel like.
You know what it was about Robin Williams? I think this defines him the best. He did something for everyone.
Exactly. Bingo. That's right. That's exactly right. He did. And that is why he will be missed. You want me to give you a little Mork and Mindy, by the way?
I'd love that, yeah.
Greetings, Fonzie. Remember me, Mork from Ork? You once called me the Nutso from outer space.
Yeah, because he could be that bizarre and just make it work.
And he could do it on the fly also.
I thought, Colin had a great line about this where there are so many movies Robin Williams has been in where if you take out Robin Williams, there's no movie.
No.
Where he is the movie. As great as some of our dramatic actors are, in most cases, you replace them with someone else. Someone else can fill that role. He had a very, very unique
take him out of
brilliance.
Goodwill Hunting, and who could have replayed him in that role?
Yeah, even movies like, this is a silly one, but a movie like Flubber, only he could play that kind of role.
Have you seen every bad Robin Williams
No,
movie ever made?
I like Flubber. I have no problem with Flubber.
You've seen Flubber?
I've seen Flubber.
So
I think it's a Disney property, by the way, so be careful.
Oh, love Flubber.
Yeah.
There's no better movie than Flubber. I watch it on loop at the home. But you're funny because you've never seen.
Well,
he was in License to Wed. Did you ever see that? Where he's the Reverend?
To Wed. I think I have seen
with Mandy Moore.
Yeah.
And John,
wasn't he in Cadillac Man?
Yes, he was the star in Cadillac Man. He's in everything. If there's a movie made, he's been in it. Was it 1 Hour Photo that he was in? You ever see that?
I have seen that.
Creepy guy.
Yeah, that was scary. How about Death to Smoochie?
I knew you were going to go there.
I
knew you were going to.
That was weird. That was a Robin Williams movie I didn't care for.
You know, it was a bad Robin Williams movie. Patch Adams. You ever see Patch Adams?
I liked Patch Adams.
You know what?
Patch Adams, though, was great. There were some of these beautiful, it was a sad ending. But there's a beautiful message in Patch Adams.
Is there a Robin Williams movie you didn't like?
I just told you, Death to Smoochie or whatever it's called.
So that's the one that didn't work for you.
Was that what it's called? Or Death by Smoochie?
Too Smoochy.
Too Smoochy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You liked Jack, though, didn't you?
I like Jack.
I like
a lot.
Jack also.
Yeah, Jack's good.
It's time for a frenzy. A football frenzy. Any team, any player, any question. Call now at 800-919-3776 or tweet at Rothenberg ESPN, #football frenzy, and ask us your NFL questions.
That's right. It's a frenzy, a football frenzy here with Ryan Ruocco and Dave Rothenberg on ESPN New York. We're so into the movie conversation. We have to continue that in a little bit, but right now we're frenzy.
Yeah,
right,
you know what I like? I like the fact that you are you are legitimately, is it fair to say, in love with the football frenzy?
I am. I am legitimately in love with the football frenzy.
Good. Let's produce a frenzy.
All right, let's produce a frenzy. Shall we start with a question from Jonathan Winthrop?
That's how we start. We start on the other side, then we go phone, then we go Twitter, and then we go around the horn.
And we keep going around. So continue to tweet at us at Ryan Ruocco.
What just happened there? Ryan Ruocco.
My Italian grandfather rolling over in his grave. No, at Ryan Ruocco, at there. Rothenberg ESPN. Yeah, that was funny.
And you can call us 800-919-3776.
The hashtag frenzy, right?
76. Yeah, football frenzy, however you want to go about it.
Oh, Ruockenberg. All right,
boy.
Go ahead, Johnnenberg.
All right, so apparently Odell Beckham is saying that the Giants could have one of the best offenses in the league. Would anyone have better perspective of this than Odell, since he's watched a lot of Giants football?
Why don't you just start with your question by saying, I'm John Winthrop and I hate the Giants? Really, why not?
That's not true.
Oh, come on, please.
He's a big fan of the Maras.
Yeah, you like, well, it's hard to not like the Maras. No, it's
love Kit Mara.
Because John's dream John's dream is to work for an NFL organization. He knows that would be a great one to work for, so he figures if he says nice things about them enough on air, maybe it'll turn into a job someday.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
No, I think the Giants' offense, one of the best in the NFL. It's not. You look at the best teams in the NFL offensively, you think Packers, you think Broncos, and for me, I don't think Giants are in that category. I think they can be good. I think Eli will have a bounce-back year. I think the offensive line will be better. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Giants are going to have one of the better offenses in the NFL, Ryan.
I would say that I can't say it simply because of the offensive line. I think their weaponry, I think Eli is going to be better. I love the idea of him working a more hurried offense because we've always pined for that with Eli Manning. So I do think that he will be better, and I think the receivers are going to be better than last year because of a disengaged Hakeem Nicks that they had last year, and I like their running back situation better than last year. But their offensive line is too big a question mark for me to think it could be an offense that competes with a Saints or a Broncos or something like that.
They're not in the same stratosphere.
Vince in Bedford Hills, you are up next on the Frenzy.
Hey, guys, I was wondering who you think is going to be in the Super Bowl this year. My prediction, I got the Broncos and the 49ers.
That's a good prediction. Pretty safe. Vegas would be happy with you on that. What do you say, Dave?
Boy, I really haven't gotten that far yet.
I haven't picked mine yet officially.
I don't know. I'm going to wait. I'll give it to you before the start of the season on September the 4th, but I'm not there yet. Yes, I like his pick, though. I like
okay, Broncos. There's a very good chance. I'll tell you this. I'm going to pick the Broncos. I'm not sure yet of my NFC team. That's what I will tell you. That's as far as I will go. All right. Nets Jets fan 549 tweets at us. Who would be your first pick in fantasy football?
I like LaShawn McCoy. I think he's durable. I think he's a great runner. I think it's a brilliant offense for him. He catches passes. I know they had Darren Sproles, but I look at McCoy as a safe bet. Love him. Would go him number one.
I would go LaShawn McCoy in a PPR league without hesitation. The only wild card, I would end up taking LaShawn McCoy as well. Some people will still say Adrian Peterson. I believe if I look, one of our ESPN draft guys had Peterson first. Was it Berry who still had Peterson first? In a non-PPR league, you can make that argument to me of Peterson. If it's a PPR league, and just in case you're unfamiliar with the terminology, in which case you're probably not playing fantasy football, but nonetheless that means point per reception. In a PPR league, my pick has to be LaShawn McCoy. Let's move on with the frenzy to Jeff Candelmo.
That's right, Jeff. You're on.
DJJC.
Okay. Now, when your team loses, like people in this building, who is the most obnoxious fan where you go, man, I hope my team doesn't lose to that guy's team?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would imagine that other people feel that way about you, Dave.
Yeah, probably.
So you would be the one for everybody else.
You would not want the Steelers to lose to Dave's Giants, Jeff.
Now, for me, it's Winthrop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
I'm just saying that.
See, no, John is... I don't think John's annoying about his teams at all. I think John's annoying about other things.
No, because he knows... I don't want to get in too much, but it's like... It's sort of like... He doesn't really say it, but he is saying it. You know what I mean?
He's snide.
Right, yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
He's more snide about like not believing in true love and things like that.
All right, maybe it's not the NFL, but it's clearly Lumberg, and he takes the cake for the entire station.
You know what? You're right. Hold on, Dave.
Yeah, you're gonna take me off that pedestal.
Yes, thank you, John. There is no one on this planet more annoying than Lumberg when it comes to anything sports. It's true.
Don't you gotta like a team? He doesn't like any team.
But that's what makes it more annoying. It's like if your
how do you go to bat for a team when you don't even have a team?
If your team loses to the Heat, you have to hear about it. Or if
I imagine he's not on that Heat bench. Is he on all Cavs now?
I'm sure he'll be a Cavs.
All right, let's not kill poor Ryan when he's Robin when he's not even
here.
See
that you're doing what the audience did for years.
No, but I know the difference between you guys.
Do you?
Yeah,
it didn't seem like it a moment
ago. You tried to merge us together moments ago.
I did. Ruockenberg continuing here with Sean in the Bronx is our next caller on the Frenzy.
What up, guys? Quick, what do you think is the possibility, if and only if Michael Vick starts, that Eric Decker and Chris Johnson make the Pro Bowl this year?
0 chance that they both make the Pro Bowl, I think.
Eric Decker and Chris Johnson?
No, neither. I think Eric Decker could be a Pro Bowler, perhaps. I mean, if he ends up with... He is the guy on that receiving core, right? If he ends up with 1,100 yards standing out because he's the best receiver by far on that unit, because he could stand out because he would be the guy that makes the difference.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Look, I like him. I cannot imagine that he would be a Pro Bowl caliber guy this year.
The reason I could is because I think he could stand out. If the Jets' offense succeeds, he could be looked at as the reason why. Jacob Wren tweets at us, is there anyone in the AFC that can beat the Patriots in the playoffs this year?
Oh, come on. It's a ridiculous question.
Of course is the answer to that question.
Yeah, the Broncos beat them last year.
Right.
How can they not beat them this year? If you want to say, can they win the division, that's a different question. But, yes, there's a team that can beat the Patriots. John, you're up.
You know, we had this discussion a lot last week, so I want to ask Ruocco this. You'll probably know where I'm going. Andy Dalton, how would you describe him? Above average, average, or below average?
Be careful. This became very heated last week.
I mean, I'd still describe him as above average. I still think he's above average. And maybe it's just because I think of him as a suitable NFL quarterback.
Let me define that. Because I would say above average is top 10. Average is 10 through 20.
Okay.
And below average 21 through 30.
Well, first of all, that's...
I'm sorry, top, I guess more like top 11.
But hold on. So you describe... You got to tell me the scale ahead.
All right, so I will tell you now.
Because then you're describing Drew Brees as above average.
You give your answer, and then I will tell you if it fits into what I believe.
Well, all right, so if he falls to anywhere between 12 and 20, I would say that's average, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you think he's higher than that?
But I didn't realize... Okay. Yes, I would say he's average then. I think he is average because he's somewhere between 12 and 20. That's where I would put him in the NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and that's what we said last week.
All right, so why did it get heated?
Well, because Chris Broussard said that he was, did he say upper echelon? Or
he had him in Canton, basically.
Yeah, he's like the president of his fan club.
Very, very good.
Really?
And we had to
Does he have a thing for redheads or something that we didn't know about?
Maybe so. We had to go through every NFL quarterback, and then he ranked him, and he said, yeah, he's probably about 16, and still he was digging up stats, and it was very aggressive.
But here's what I would say. If you just asked me to describe him, I'd describe him as above average. But on your convoluted scale, he would be average.
But he's not really above average. We're not going to do it now, but if you take all 32 starting quarterbacks, Andy Dalton will fall at about 15 or 16.
You know why I guess I'd say that? Because I think I put the bad ones as weighting the scale so low that he seems above average to me.
All right, but this is not the way. Frenzy needs to go faster.
Okay, this is a slow frenzy. All right, Chris S. says, which Giants rookie will have a bigger impact this season, Odell Beckham Jr. or Andre Williams?
Odell Beckham Jr. I think if he's healthy, and I guess he's practicing now, that he's the kind of guy that can give you 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards. Andre Williams is going to be splitting time, maybe the goal line guy. I think the Giants have expectations for both, but I look at Odell Beckham Jr. as the guy that has the bigger upside than Andre Williams.
You know what? I think
you love Andre Williams. I know.
No. Okay. I think on this team, and Andre Williams is going to have a bigger impact, but I think eventually Odell Beckham Jr. will be the better player.
Okay.
That's a little football frenzy.
Yeah, you got to hit the whistle.
Oh, yeah, wait. Yeah. Hold on.
As a Yankees fan, Ryan, you can start to feel it slipping away a little bit, can't you?
Well, there is like an unbridled joy just oozing out of you
I'm a
as
Mets
you say
fan.
that.
What do I have?
You're right.
I mean, every time a pitcher looks like he's going to be good, he goes on the DL, and now you have this DeGrom DL. What's he going to be? I'll be honest with you. I'm always honest with you, always honest with the listeners. I take immense pleasure in the Yankees losing. Immense.
It's the only thing you have to root for
Correct.
as a Met fan.
Correct.
No, that's right. And there's a part of me, I always really looked down upon the fan that lived in that world because I grew up with the Yankees dynasty in the late 90s and then early 2000s.
Hated that team to the point where, look, I know Paul O'Neill was wonderful, Bernie Lives. I appreciate that, but I just hated those teams. I mean, I rooted for the Diamondbacks in 2001.
Yeah.
After 9/11. Think of how hard that was to do.
Exactly.
But I was able to do it.
And because you hate the Yankees that much. And I always, the fan that roots against a team so feverishly, I always just look down on them as human beings until.
So you look down on me as a human being a little bit.
Yeah, I did.
Here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I probably wouldn't trust you with my children if I had them.
You don't have
because
kids.
Of that. But
you're not even married.
I know. You're right. But I'm just telling you.
Maybe I can sway you over the time between now and
to get married.
Or maybe I can sway you to get married, or maybe I can sway you to convince you that yes, I would let him
watch my children, my unborn children.
I'm good with kids,
but I'll tell you what changed it for me a little bit. I'll tell you what changed it. The Miami Heat conglomerate changed it for me.
You hated the Heat.
You got it. And so I used to actively, I just didn't want to see it work. So I would root against them, and I thought, wow, for the first time in my life, I'm rooting.
Get it.
Yeah.
So you kind of understood where I came from.
I did. So now I let you watch my kids.
So, great. Yeah. Cowboys?
Cowboys, do I have the same?
Cowboys in the Super Bowl, you're not rooting for whoever they're playing?
It depends who they're playing, honestly.
Steelers? It wouldn't matter who they're playing for me.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, there are times where I've disliked the Patriots even more.
Really?
Yeah, there have been. There have been. Just because I'm a Peyton guy, and so I don't want Brady to keep accumulating titles, that kind of thing. But I see you are quite thrilled that the Yankees are in this place they are.
Scuffling, we might say.
That Joe Girardi is being asked questions like this, Dave. Do you ever get to a point where you're concerned the offense just can't get it done? Joe? Oh, the screen.
Dave, he doesn't want to say it?
He doesn't. I'm like pressing it over and over again. Hey, Jeff, what could be happening here that I'm pressing the screen over and over again and it just won't play? I mean, is this Dave's voodoo that was working?
It's not me.
You didn't want to hear from the Yankees.
That's right. I told you I don't like them. There you go.
I mean, nothing's playing on it. I don't know. We're going to have to reboot it because we got some good Robin Williams bites we have to play later, too.
Yeah, what a story.
And a touch screen is my favorite thing in this business. Anyway, point is, yesterday was the first time after the game where you actually heard people, at least the first time I heard it asked by so many reporters, like, have you gotten to a point where you just think maybe this offense isn't going to get it done? Derek Jeter was asked that. Joe Girardi was asked that. And, of course, the stock answer is, well, we have to get it done. But the reality is this, Dave. With a baseball team, if you are accustomed to expecting good things,
right,
when a losing team wins a game or two, you think, oh, is this where they turn it on? Is this their turnaround? And the Yankees have done a marvelous job of staying above water, considering really how poor a team they are throughout this season. But every little
you
winning
think the Yankees are a poor team?
I think they're an okay team.
They're an average team, right?
Average
yes. Okay,
team.
Agreed.
And the reality is that a 3-game losing streak, it should not be surprising after they win 4 or 5 because that's what happens to an average team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. But the thing is that you now see them. I don't know if you want to say, well, the division is on the verge of being over. Okay, there's 7 games out in the division. They have 2 more with the Orioles. Unless they...
No, but they have more than 2 more games.
No, I mean 2 now.
Yeah.
Right, if they finish this series and they're done, let's say for argument's sake, they split the next 2. They're done at 7, right? On August, what would that be, 13th?
Right.
There's 7 games back. You're not making that up.
Unless we're talking about the Mets of 07, 08.
For a man that doesn't hate anybody, you certainly threw that out at me.
You took a dig, I took a dig,
That's
and everybody's
fine.
happy.
Well, look, you know what? I'm a big boy. I can deal with that. But you'd have to say odds are at 7 games out in mid-August, this team is not making that run back. And now what happens is you start to look at the wild card. So Detroit all of a sudden has actually been leapfrogged by Kansas City. So they are, at the moment, the second wild card. But now you look at the Yankees. So let's just go by losses. I don't think wins necessarily matter. So the Tigers have 53 losses, and they're better than the Yankees.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Seattle has 55 losses. Toronto and the Yankees both have 57. So you're not talking about the Yankees have to get by, because are the Yankees as good as most of these teams? Probably. But you're not saying the Yankees have to get by one team. Now the Yankees have to get by 3 teams. And I know we still have 6.5 weeks left of the season, but it's not a great situation for this club. And it's green today. Now, Pineda comes back tomorrow, and obviously there's a lot of excitement about that. Sure, it does.
Yeah.
Look, but they still don't hit.
Right.
Their bullpen has been lights out. I give you that. And their starting rotation has been better than I think it should be.
You know what I said, Dave? And it's funny. I did a show on this a couple weeks ago, right before I went to Cabo, I think. And
you had to drop that in, huh?
Well, I did. You've seen my pictures, right? Ooh.
I did not.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, what a setup. I got to show you. But anyway, right before I went away on vacation, I did this show, and I said, if you look at their lineup, who do you fear? Like, or think about it, not even from that standpoint. How about from a standpoint of who steps to the plate, who you expect is going to get a hit? Because we know mathematically,
right.
You should never expect somebody to get a hit because even if they're great, the majority of the time they won't. We get it. We get it. But there's a baseball fan, when you watch a team every day, there's a certain feeling you get about a guy. Like when there's a runner on third and less than 2 outs, I always knew Hideki Matsui would get that run in. Always. Every time I just have a good feeling with him at the plate. In that
Did you have that feeling with all the Jeter and O'Neill and Bernie Latino? And I mean, how could you not with every single
you felt
Cano or Soriano or
you felt like
or
all
Posada?
them? Yeah.
I mean, they were great forever.
Who on this team, when they step into the box, do you think they're getting a hit?
Gardner.
Yeah.
Ellsbury-ish.
And Jeter-ish, because he, even though it's not for damage, he has been one of their most consistent hitters.
They are not sitting where they are now in, I guess you could say, the trouble or the concern where they are because of Derek Jeter.
No.
And I thought that could be, I thought he could be a shell of himself this year.
And he has not been.
He has been.
He's acquitted himself quite nicely.
He's fine.
Yes.
I mean, when you honestly look at it now, do the Yankees have advantages? They have more money. They have all those things. When you honestly look at it, you should not lose 80% of your starting rotation, Ryan, and be competing. You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
No. And that's why I think Joe Girardi's done an amazing job.
I agree.
But it's also what makes it even more befuddling that they've been able to compete because they've lost 80% of their rotation, and it's their pitching that's kept them afloat. But the offense, the point is this. For anybody who was looking at that series against Detroit as a turning of the corner, they beat Cy Young Award winners, 2 out of 3, and they took 3 out of 4, and then they beat the Indians and they scored double-digit runs. There is no corner that will be turned with this team because their offense simply is not good enough. Mark Teixeira said it last night. He said, we've been a disappointment, or we've been disappointed pretty much this entire season. And he's right. And it's not going to change. The only thing that can change them and get them into this postseason is the fact that the other teams that they're lumped with have their own very significant warts as well.
First of all, Detroit is now, they're a little banged up with the pitching staff, but Detroit, I think, is a better team. Seattle, I don't know. I think the Yankees are at that level.
I think they're about the same. In Toronto, they're about
Toronto
the same.
as well. But you know what? And this is where it becomes difficult. Do you look at the Yankees and say that down the stretch they're going to outplay 3 teams? If you told me it's 1, and the mediocre Yankees have a better run than the mediocre Blue Jays, I would say, you know what? There's no reason that I can't buy into that. But the mediocre Yankees are going to be better than 3 teams in front of them? I don't know.
Who is the guy on the Yankees who's exceeded expectations at the plate this year?
Gardner.
You know what? I agree he's
Look at his numbers. You did not expect him to do that.
You're right.
This year.
I agree he's exceeded expectations, and I think that's totally fair, and he has had a very good year. But
look at it.
This is what
278, 15, 50, and 74 runs.
Yeah,
that's if I had told you at the start of the season that's what you're going to get from Brett Gardner, you would have said there's no way. I don't believe it.
Well, I mean, the 278 I would have believed.
Oh, sure.
But this is my point, and the 354 on base percentage is still good. The homers and the runs scored are the best part about that. But this is what I would say. That is the one guy who's exceeded offensive expectations.
Yes.
And it's not like he's exceeded them to a point where he can lift up the rest of the offense.
No.
There is nobody on this team who has done anything to lift up anybody else.
Average, steady, fine. You're not winning because of him. You're not losing because of him. Ellsbury has been what you thought he would be.
I think he's even been a little below expectations.
In stretches had good power numbers,
but he's just not on the.
And he's hitting 227. He's never healthy.
Not on the field.
Ever healthy. Right. Beltran has not been anywhere near what you thought. Headley's too soon. Drew's too soon. Prado's too soon. I guess Solarte outdid what you. Yeah. But I mean, he's not a guy you're going to build. He was not a guy you were going to build around.
McCann has been an incredible disappointment.
You're right.
Ichiro hits for no power. Soriano, they had to cut.
Their offense has, from beginning to now, has been an epic disappointment.
And I don't see how there is a corner turn. They just may be in enough games to somehow squeeze in, But other than that, I don't think you can be expecting anything to really change with this team. They're going to win some games, and they're going to go on little stretches like they are right now because they just can't hit. Yesterday, you and I spent a lot of time talking about the Jets secondary and how it was a huge concern, and it became a bigger concern thanks to the Dexter McDougal injury. He's out for the year.
Right.
And then thanks to the D. Milner injury, with him probably being out week 1, and who knows if he's set back any further with that with the high ankle sprain. So Rex Ryan yesterday, naturally, is trying to tell us not to worry, Dave.
I always say you get beat fast as a quarterback and cornerback. I get that. But I never said I had to have the best corner in football. That's not it. My defense is work, period. I don't care what it is. We take what we have, and then we work around it. So we work to the strength of our players, and it's always players over system. So we've been around enough that it'll work out. And that's why, to me, it's not a panic situation. It's an opportunity.
Do you like that, Dave?
No, not particularly. No, I'm not a huge Rex guy. I think his bravado, and it's going to be great. It's going to be fine. There's no worry. I mean, this is not a good situation, Ryan. Now, maybe Rex doesn't want to lead that on, but Rex never won. Last year, and this is the boy who cried wolf to me. Last year was the best team he's ever had, right? How could you say that? You look at that team, and they were not a very good football team.
That was his one line that was sort of an outlier because the rest of the year he was a much tamer Rex.
He was. But you know what? I hear this from him every year. It's always how good this guy is, how good McDougal is going to be the greatest, and the defense is unbelievable. And look, here's what I think about Rex. I think he's a very smart defensive mind. You can take Bill Belichick. If you give him bad secondary guys, they're not going to have a good secondary. It's that simple. You can be Vince Lombardi, and if you give him a bad team, they're not going to be good. Now, I like Rex. I think he's a very smart football mind. You look at this secondary now, Ryan. I don't care. I mean, Lions, Bears, Broncos, Patriots. I know who they go up against. I'm concerned week to week to week, though. This secondary, looking at it right now, is bad. And you want to blame Rex? I don't know how you blame him. I think this goes more to an Idzik issue than a Rex issue right now.
I agree with that, but I have to say, I like what he said right there.
Why?
Because I think when you suffer injuries in sports, sometimes players, especially the ones who are more aware, use it as an excuse. And whether or not it's something that actually tangibly affects them immediately or it just sort of lays in the recesses of their minds, I think that subconsciously you start to maybe believe that there is a reason that exists why you won't be as good.
I agree with that.
And he is coming out and saying, no. That's not the case. We're going to be fine. Trust me. And look, if there's one thing he is an expert on, it is defense. Now, you could say right behind that is braggadocious.
It wasn't good last year.
And the defense was still pretty good.
Yes. But you had Antonio Cromartie anchoring the defense last year.
But he didn't play well last year.
Would you take him this year if you're the Jets?
I think you'd take him, yeah, but he didn't have
Who's your number one corner right now?
You mean without D. Milner healthy? Or with D. Milner healthy?
You take whatever you want.
Well, I would take D. Milner this year over what Antonio Cromartie was last year.
I don't know that, but okay.
I would, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
But
if you want to say it's unknown.
If you want to say D. Milner is not healthy and we're going just to the start of the season,
he can't walk now.
Well, I understand that.
And they play 3 weeks from Sunday.
I would say that then you have a problem. But his point is this. I don't mind that because his point is I can craft the defense to still make this work. I have enough talent. I have enough, acumen in this part of the football where I can somehow finagle things to make it work. And you're not going to have the excuse of this guy's not here, so the ship goes down.
Well, you know what? If he just came on and said, I don't want to hear excuses, fine. But I mean, it just sounds like a lot of, look at me, I'm great, I will find a way, my defense always works. And I don't know, it just feels like this is not the first time we've heard this from Rex. It feels like this is the mantra from Rex Ryan. This is what he says. I am so good, I will find a way. I don't know how you look at this secondary now and you find a way. I really don't. Unless that front four is unbelievably good and gets huge pressure on the opposition, the opposing quarterback. This has to be a very big concern for the Jets.
Well, it is. But what if also, Dave, we don't know. The safeties could end up excellent. Calvin Pryor could be a beast. I saw signs from Antonio Allen last year that I really like.
Now, though.
I know. Well, maybe Antonio Allen is a better corner than we realize now that we see him there.
Well, then why wasn't he a corner last year?
Well, because they needed him at safety. I mean, he was starting at safety until they got Ed Reed.
If I bring my team in, Ryan, and you're Rex Ryan, who are you matching up against my best receiver right now?
Oh, it's a problem.
I'll give you Milner.
Milner.
Okay. My number 2 guy, you put who on?
I think probably right now you're putting Dimitri Patterson on the number 2 guy.
You got a big problem. And if I have a pretty decent number 3, which a lot of teams do in the league, you put who on him?
I mean, I don't know what kind of slot corner Antonio Allen can be. Maybe he can be a good slot corner.
So are you telling me that Antonio Allen, Dean Milner, and Dimitri Patterson instill confidence in you, even with Rex Ryan saying that you have no worries?
They don't instill confidence in me.
That's my concern.
Yeah, and I understand that. But what does instill confidence in me is the rest of the defense and Rex as my head coach. I don't expect him to have a defense that has no holes. I expect him to be able to fill limited holes if he has enough talent elsewhere.
Listen, maybe this is where you and I disagree. I look at this as a much bigger than limited holes right now.